11 a.m.
Okay. Give it a couple seconds.
You tell me when.
Okay, Coastal Permit Administrator meeting, we are live.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is the May 13th, 2021 Coastal Permit Administrator hearing, Mendocino County. Want to let everybody know that effective April 16th, 2020, the Mendocino County Coastal Permit Administrator meeting will be conducted via virtual Zoom, and just letting everybody know that this has been out there for a while. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 11 a.m. May I please get a determination of noticing?
All projects on the current agenda have been noticed appropriately.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to the first item, which is item 3A, case number CDP 2017-0038. The owner applicant is Jason Kirkman and Carol Kawasi. Agent is Sam Waldman. The request is a coastal development standard permit to construct a two-story, 2,895 square foot single-family residence with an attached 488 square foot garage, covered porch, decks, ground-mounted solar array, 100 square foot pump house, two 2,500 gallon water tanks, 3 20-foot wind turbines, on-site septic system, and a 440 square foot driveway. Convert an existing testing well to a production well and connect to the utilities. The environmental determination has been a negative declaration. This project is located in the coastal zone, located 2 plus minus miles south of Albion Town Center, 0.4 plus minus miles northwest of the Navarro River, lying on the east side of Highway 1, located at 1401 North Highway 1 in Albion, Assessor's Parcel number 126-010-04. May I please get a staff report?
Yes, you may. Thank you, Interim Director Gonzalez. Project Planner Matt Goins. I'd just like to make a note before we get going about that, the comment in there about the wind turbines. There's not 3. I mistakenly put 3, but it is one 12-footer, one 16-footer, and one 20-foot. So they're not all 20 feet.
Okay, thank you.
This project is in a principally permitted area. This project request is a principally permitted use in the rural residential zoning district, including all of the accessory structures mentioned in the project. The 2,895 square foot residence will be located among intermittently spaced residents in the area. At the time of the subdivision in the late 1980s, building envelopes and guidelines were established for future development on the property. The project is 100% contained within those building envelopes and is adhering to the established guidelines. To address California Department of Fish and Wildlife's concerns and Native Plant Society's concerns, 3 separate biological scoping surveys were performed by 3 different parties. All 3 parties had varying degrees of mitigation measures. Using the surveys, mitigation measures were put in place to limit the amount of detrimental effect on the land. Staff has included these mitigation measures in conditions 18 through 26. It should be noted that the current chosen location for the residence was deemed the least impactful area on the property by all 3 surveys. The location chosen only had a total of 2 individual plant hybrid species of morning glories. While the property in question is highly visible from the northwest, it is not located in a designated mapped highly scenic area, and as such is not subject to the highly scenic standards. There is visual planning put in place to mitigate the impacts regarding the visibility to the skyline. A sizable berm will be placed in front of the residence, hiding a good majority of the lower half of the structure. Additionally, native vegetation will be planted intermittently throughout the property and the berm and on top of the berm as well, limiting the visual impacts to the structure against the skyline. Additionally, the water tanks will be placed under the porch and behind the planned landscape berm, and the solar arrays will also be hidden behind the berm as well. Muted colors have been chosen for the roof and siding as to not stand out on foggy days or create glare. Non-reflective windows will be installed to minimize glare as well. Other muted colors have been chosen for other accessory structures, including the wind turbines, to minimize the reflective surface and to harmoniously blend in with the natural surroundings. In regards to the mitigated negative declaration prepared, staff finds that although the prepared project could have a significant impact on the environment, there will be no significant effect in this case because revisions to the project have been made by and agreed to by the project proponent. Therefore, staff recommends adoption of the mitigated negative declaration. Additionally, staff finds that this project is consistent with the findings as stated in the staff report, and with the adherence of the conditions of approval, staff recommends approval of the project. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. So in looking through the color palettes and so on, and one of the questions I've got is color for the roof.
Color for the roof. It will not be red as that is shown. That was just an example of material style. That I asked Sam Waldman that yesterday, the agent, and he said that's not the color. It'll probably be more of like a muted gray or even a light gray-green or something like that. That won't, nothing bright, nothing that's going to stand out.
And I understand from the process that when the building permits come in for this structure, the colors will be called out on the roof and on the structure itself, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that whatever's being proposed is actually being adhered to during the plan process. All right.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Mr. Goings. So at this point, I will go ahead and ask that the applicant or project proponent speak on the project.
Sam Waldman, you're muted. If you're on your phone, you can press *6. Please state your name for the record.
Yes, hello, this is Sam Waldman.
Mr.
We are
Waldman,
here.
okay,
We're here
so at this point, as the applicant, if you have anything to add, go right ahead.
Yes, I'd like to add just one thing about concerns regarding the second story. It's not a second story that covers the entire structure. It's 400 square feet of space located on the southwest portion of the building, and where we felt it would have the least visual impact. Other than that, I think during the last 4 years, as Matt's tried to explain, we've covered the bases as proposed and tried to present a structure that would pay homage to the hillside. You know, we understand that nature as it is can't be improved upon, but we can try and coexist in the most graceful way possible. The other thing I wanted to point out as a message to the community was that those story poles have been up for quite some time, about 3.5 years, giving people a lot of opportunity to communicate and dialogue with us. And there was a letter kind of instituting this idea that I sent to planning in June of 20 that reads, we're certainly open to productive design discussion and always have been, that could foster the greatest possible community acceptance. And our goal here is to create something that will be both beautiful and welcome. So throughout the process, we have been available for communication, design discussion. And at this point, we feel that, as I said, we've followed the guidelines. The staff report is thorough. And we're still, though, happy to answer questions of a substantive nature about the project.
Thank you very much.
Oh, one more thing, actually, Jason's reminding me that there's been concern about the turbines, the wind, the wind mechanisms that we're using. This is a Savonius vertical turbine. It's not a propeller. And the reason we're able to stay as low as we are or have proposed is that these are effective at lower elevations. So the impact plus with the impact is reduced because of that. And as Matt pointed out, we intend to paint them so that surfaces are don't reflect or not glaring surfaces.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anybody else from the applicant side that wishes to speak on this?
We have no other applicants to speak.
All right. So I'm going to bring it back to the CPA and staff. I understand that correspondence has been received on this project.
Yep. Comments were received from Tom Wadowski, Melissa Hayes, Anne Marie Weibel, Alan Pollock, John Gallo, Van Phillips, Pamela and Tom Hudson, and Susan Lark. And if there are others I may not be aware of since they came in at such a late time.
Right.
I'm not sure.
And so correspondence has been posted to the website.
All correspondence received prior to the meeting was posted to the website.
Right. And in general, the concerns are?
Some they kind of vary here and there, but the height, the height of the building, which was addressed, the size of the structure, being in a highly scenic area, even though I think Tom had some concerns about it being highly scenic, but not being in a highly scenic area.
Okay.
I see his name, so he could probably talk to that. But
All right.
and everyone else, four out of the commenters were in favor for this project, and the other ones were very, very similar, where there are lots of comments, but usually it's just the height and the visibility of the structure.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we went ahead and got clarification on the roof color and the outside colors of the structure, which was good. Clarification on the wind turbines. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. And
Okay, so I will be entering people in line in order that on the screen. And Anne Marie Weibel, you'll be first to speak. Please make sure you state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to talk. And after Anne Marie will be Tom. So Anne Marie, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. I believe that this project needs an EIR because of issues with aesthetics, scenic vista, biological resources, wetlands, ESHA, also land use and planning issues, and also mandatory findings of significance. In the staff report, it was not marked that the land use planning issues, it was on page 1, is causing potentially significant impact. My position is that the staff report was not sufficient, had a lot of misstatements, mislabeling, and should be redone. For example, it's listed that the project is on the west side when it's on the east side, and also that that attachments, certain biological surveys would be attached, which they weren't. It's not transparent. It's for the public to, during COVID, where we couldn't get more than a staff report, to just get a staff report that has not been clearly written. For example, there were tons of surveys that were listed, which belonged to a different property. It's listed under page 11 references. And also It's the biological resource, as far as that is concerned. Actually, in section 2496020, it lists that a buffer zone should be no less than 100 feet. That was omitted in the staff report and just mentioned the 50 feet. But this is very misleading because the public would like to see, you know, why it's okay with the Planning Commission and Fish and Wildlife that this could be reduced to 50 feet. I'm concerned about the fire issues, especially now with drought condition and all that, and that we didn't get input from the local fire department or a new input from CAL FIRE. Also, you know, this issue about the takings analysis, that would.
Okay, Anne Marie, thank you. Your time has lapsed.
Okay, I think just for
We
the
have
record.
one
Oh,
other
go ahead.
speaker. We
Go
have
ahead.
one other speaker, Tom Wadowski. Oh, shoot, I lost my timer. Sorry, just one moment, technical difficulty. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry, I don't have a time. Oh, here, I'm sorry. Tom, you
Okay.
can start speaking.
Okay, let me first say that Melissa Hayes is here with me. She submitted and has permission to speak, so she's on my website here in this office right now.
We will
Okay,
give her 3 minutes after your 3 minutes.
okay. Yeah, I am Tom Wadowski, an Albion resident, and I happen to have been on the planning, general plan Citizens Advisory Committee back almost 40 years ago when we were zoning this area. And we did mean that knoll to be highly scenic. And in fact, the Kirkman lot is overwhelmingly highly scenic. It's just interesting that that very most noticeable spot, the very top, somehow got called non-highly scenic. And that is a big error because anyone from the highway and from the preserve across the road can see those story poles full on, no trees or brush to hide them. It's going to be a big object up there in a whole area that is right now totally undeveloped. And it is the first place people coming from inland, from the city, when they finally get to the coast, that section of coastal plateau and the hills behind it, almost all up and down the coast, it has all been developed. That is the greeting to the Mendocino coast, and it is undeveloped now. Thankfully, the Land Trust has the land, the preserve, and those ridges are still undeveloped at the knoll there. And it would be a big loss to everyone if that gets developed. And it is highly scenic, and the whole lot should be. And the Coastal Act 3.5 and 6 point that out, that even if there's that quote, highly scenic areas delineation is approximate and shall be subject to review and correction if necessary. So that's a main point. Also, the main thing is that just how, for me, is how visible it is that I know the people involved. I like them all, Jason and Sam and Carol. They're good people. I don't mean to oppose them, but I'm thinking of posterity, of all the people, the thousands that cross, millions that go by that area and love it the way it is now, undeveloped and wild. And I'm thinking of future generations. It's been undeveloped for 10,000, 100,000 years. I would like to see it stay that way, so that people can be greeted on the coast with really a beautiful wild coast view. So that is my main point. And I will finish with that. Thank you all for your work. Signing off.
Thank you, Mr. Wadecki.
Please state your name for the record when you're ready to speak. You have 3 minutes.
Was this, go ahead. Is it,
Hello, my name is Melissa Hayes. I've lived in Albion for almost 50 years. I'm a retired postmaster with a 45-year career. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'd like to say that this is a conversation between neighbors. We all know each other and we respect each other. This is not a conversation where one side wins and one side loses. This is a conversation about the best choices for a development in an area which we care about, a location that can be seen from Highway 1 and from the Navarro Point Reserve. It's a location that has been and will be viewed by millions of locals and tourists alike. Whether or not this development is in the highly scenic area designation, I think we can all agree that the location is highly scenic and extremely sensitive and needs the most thoughtful consideration. The staff report addressed many aspects of the development, and I'm sure that Sam and Jason and Carol have tried their very best to design with sensitivity. What's missing, however, is an impact simulation of what the development will look like when it's completed. Without this visual simulation, the very critical decision of how to go forward will have a long-lasting effect on our coastal viewshed, and it is incomplete. How can we be sure that this development will be sensitive to the surroundings by looking at numbers and pictures on a paper? In the past, we had to rely on the numbers and the pictures, but now we have the capability to actually place the development in the location and see perhaps that some mitigation efforts might better serve the location, the viewshed, the public, and yes, even the owners. So I would like to propose that this coastal development permit be continued until we have a better analysis of what the final design will look like through a visual simulation created by the applicant. If we have the simulation in place and we place it in the setting, we can more thoughtfully consider the design, assuring that it represents the very, very best options for this extremely sensitive location. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
That concludes the public comment.
All right. Mr. Goings, some comments have been raised by the public. I was wondering if you could address the issue of the highly scenic.
Again, the highly scenic area, while it is highly visible, we reached out to the Planning Coastal Commission asking for any maps or anything that they may have, and Julia and I searched our records to see if there was anything to address Tom's concerns, and we asked them to provide something as well, and just nothing was ever shown to be different than what it is right now. And there, as it sits outside of the highly scenic area, and there's nothing to hold them to it. It is highly visible, but it is not in a highly designated highly scenic zone, as highly scenic as it may be.
Okay. All right. The story poles have been up for a while, correct?
So 3 years.
3 years. Well, that's, and then I think the wind turbines has been clarified and so on.
If I may, Julia Ackerkrog, Assistant Director. I just would like to add too that the proposed development is within a designated building envelope that was established as part of the original subdivision from 1989. I think that's an important component to remember, that those building envelopes were established when these parcels were created, just to really intend to plan for appropriate site development. So I think that's just a key component I wanted to add to the discussion today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because again, that's really the intent of a building envelope, is to limit development within those building envelopes. Okay, so, all right. So I've reviewed the staff report, I've reviewed the evidence and the diagrams, and I think there was one other comment that was raised by Anna Marie Weibel, who disputed the diagrams.
The diagrams, yeah, I'm not sure what that.
Yeah, I think the information is correct that I see here. The other thing that I want to clarify, in fact, I think what she brought up was the issue of the fire department not responding. The Albion Little River Fire Department was provided an opportunity to comment, and they did not respond. And typically when I'll call it a trustee agency is asked to review and comment on these things, if they have an issue, they respond or they comment on it. Otherwise, they don't. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so that clarifies that. So based on what I'm seeing here in the staff report, the conditions of approval, the mitigation measures, it looks like any of the issues that have been raised are actually going to be adequately addressed through the conditions of approval as well as the special condition of approval. And again, why I asked about the building permit process is when the building permit comes in, all these conditions will actually be addressed. And it's one of the things that I'm looking at here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that it's not on here, but as far as to ensure that conditions are being met, one of the things that I'd like to see is the conditions of approval, all of the conditions of approval and special conditions of approval 16 and 17, and the mitigation measures that are 18 through 26 be placed on the building permit application, on the plans.
Okay.
So
That's-
I'm going to go ahead and add a special condition number 27 that will read, all conditions of approval shall be placed on building plans that are to be submitted to Planning and Building Services. I just want to make sure that these conditions, as proposed, are actually being implemented and carried over and plan checked, so that when a set of plans comes in, we will actually see what those conditions are, rather than having to hunt through files. Those conditions are transposed, and that's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to ask that be basically adhered to. I don't want to use the word enforced, but that's something that I want to see going forward on applications. So let's see. So with that, and the addition of condition number 27, and by the way, did you catch that?
Yes, I did,
All
thank
right,
you.
because I've also written it down. So based on what I've seen and adding this other condition, the coastal permit administrator finds that the environmental impacts identified in the project can be adequately mitigated through the conditions of approval or features of the project design so that no significant adverse environmental impacts will result in the project. Therefore, a mitigated negative declaration is adopted, and I will go ahead and approve the project subject to the project findings and conditions contained in the staff report, and also with the addition of condition number 27, requiring that all conditions of approval be placed on the plans that are to be submitted to Planning and Building Services for the building permit for the construction of these structures. And with that, the project is approved. So one thing I do want to indicate is there is an appeal process. Persons who are dissatisfied with the decision of the permit administrator may appeal the action to the Board of Supervisors. An appeal must be made in writing along with the applicable fee to the clerk of the board within 10 days of the coastal permit administrator's decision. The appeal issue will be placed on the next available Board of Supervisors agenda for consideration, and the applicant will be notified of the time and date. Appeals to the Board of Supervisors do not necessarily guarantee that the coastal permit administrator's decision will be overturned. In some cases, the board may have the legal authority to overturn the decision of the administrator. Again, so I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. So with that said, thank you all. The project is approved. And findings for the staff report. And again, we'll add condition number 27. All right, thank you. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move over to case 3B, which is CDP 2020-0004, and the owner applicant is Myra Moeller. The agent is Carl Ridman and Associates. The request is a standard coastal development permit to re-roof an existing single-family residence and repair the on-site septic system. There is no increase of septic system capacity proposed. Project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and the project is located in the coastal zone, 0.8 plus minus miles north of the town of Mendocino on the west side of Road 500D, 400 feet from its intersection with Highway 1, located at 11,700 Road 500D, Mendocino. Assessor's parcel number 118320-03. May I please get a staff report?
Thank you, Director Nash. Hello, I am Planner TSR. Today I am presenting CDP 2020-0004. The project site is a bluff-top parcel adjacent to the ocean. The parcel is relatively flat around the existing residence with vegetation surrounding the entire parcel. The 800 square foot existing residence is the only structure on site with connection to existing well and septic. The properties to the north, east, and south all fall under the same land use designation, residential use. The applicant proposed to remove and replace root-filled pipes in existing leach field. Repairs are to return sewage disposal system to normal operating condition. The project also includes re-roof of the existing residence with natural colors. There's no septic expansion or no development requested. The parcel is zoned as rural residential. The proposed project to re-roof an existing single-family residence and repair the on-site septic system is consistent with the rural residential land use classification and Mendocino zoning code. The proposed project site is mapped as highly scenic area and is subject to regulation of Chapter 20.504 visual resource and special treatment areas. On May 13, 2020, a referral was sent to multiple agencies. Our department received comments from Environmental Health on May 30th, 2020. A septic system replacement design has been received by EH. Applicant must submit exact extent of work to determine if a permit is required for the repairs. Staff finds the proposed re-roof of the existing single-family resident and repair of the on-site septic system is consistent with the development criteria protecting the visual resource in a highly scenic area. Next, I would like to focus in on the condition number 10. A building permit shall be obtained to re-roof the existing single-family residence. This concludes staff presentation. I am available for any questions you may have. Staff does recommend approval with conditions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Tia. So now I'll go ahead and if the applicant or agent is ready to speak on this.
Please remember to state your name for the record, and you can unmute yourself.
I'm Carl Riddeman. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we
go
can.
right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I have no comments.
So you go ahead and accept the conditions of approval and the findings in the staff report?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right. Anybody else from the applicant side that wishes to speak on this matter?
We have nobody else to speak.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to the CPA. And with that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
We have no public comment.
No public comments. Thank you very much. So with that said, bringing it back to the CPA, I will go ahead and approve CDP 2020-004 and subject to the conditions of approval and the findings contained in the staff report. And with that said, there is an appeal process. Persons who are dissatisfied with the decision of the coastal permit administrator may appeal the decision to the Board of Supervisors. An appeal must be made in writing along with the applicable fee to the clerk of the board within 10 days of the coastal permit administrator's decision. The appeal issue will be placed on the next available Board of Supervisors agenda for consideration, and the appellant will be notified of the date and time. The appeals to the Board of Supervisors do not necessarily guarantee that the coastal permit administrator decision will be overturned. In some cases, the Board of Supervisors may not have the legal authority to overturn the decision of the administrator. So with that said, the project is approved. And thanks to everybody for all your hard work. All right, so moving on the agenda, do we have any matters from staff?
We have no matters from staff. Thank you.
Very much. So, any matters from the public?
We have no matters from the public.
Thank you. All right, so I will go ahead and adjourn the CPA meeting at 11:36 a.m. Thank you very much.